Hello and welcome back to Save the Sitar. So this is our comment segment of episode 1, the basic strokes. Here we will be discussing things that we found worth highlighting in lesson 1. This includes the things which we found to be different from what we were taught, things which we thought should just be highlighted for beginners, and things which we simply found odd or confusing.
So first of all, let's start with Ta. We would like to emphasize that the power of Ta is generated by a combination of the wrist and the first finger. While it may seem obvious now, many people tend to forget that the wrist, being much bigger than the tiny finger, contains much more power. When playing loudly, one may thus exaggerate the use of wrist for more power. Like this. However, when playing quickly, the use of the wrist naturally becomes less and less as it is a time-consuming process. Like this. Just something to remember.
Then we come to Ghe, the second stroke. Well, we were taught to keep our wrist at the edge of the Sayahi. Over here, while Ustad Karamutullah Khan keeps his wrist about an inch away from the Sayahi, roughly over here. We would also like to note that he says a slight wrist pressure is maintained during the stroke. This is just a general rule.
In reality, tabla players vary the pressure according to the pitch they want. The greater the pressure, the higher the pitch of the tabla, and vice versa. For example, for a low-pitched thing, I press very little. For a high-pitched note, I will press more. Also, his baya is pitched significantly lower than ours.
We would like to quote Wikipedia here, saying that the Farrukhabad Tabla Gharana makes great use of open and resonant baya strokes like this. We found this to be true. It is also important to note that te and te are not at all the same strokes. They are only written that way in English.
Te is when you use the third and fourth fingers like this, while te is when you use the first finger, like this. The main difference between the two is more in the fingering than in the sound. You often play them together very quickly in tabla performances and join them with ke to get tere kete or tirket, a combination stroke often used for emphasis, like here.
In the booklet, 42 Lessons for the Tabla, the word de or de is often written next to the bowls meant to represent te. Never forget that 2 is played close to the edge of the Sayahi, and it is a great rebound after playing.
So, if you play too close to the center, there will be a problem because it will start sounding like te.
Now let us come to ke and kat. We should also tell you that we did not make any differentiation between these two before, and we thought of them as the same stroke. Now we realize that they are two different things, with ke or ka being used more in tabla performances like this, while kat is used more for a very loud ending like this. Interestingly, when Ustad Karamutullah Khan plays these strokes, it almost sounds like a wet towel is being dropped on the tabla, while our timbre or quality of sound is normally much sharper than his. Perhaps it's because his baya is just tuned deeper than ours, or maybe his hand is more relaxed and supple than ours.
We also want to remind you that na and ta are both the same and are only spoken aloud differently. Na or ta, it depends. For example, tu takat ta becomes tu na katta. It just sounds better with na coming after tu rather than ta. You should also be comfortable with both so that you don't get confused later on.
One last thing that we want to mention, lachak or suppleness. This is a general topic and is critical for good sound. Lachak is an Urdu word that roughly translates to suppleness. As suppleness does not fully communicate the meaning of lachak, we'll talk about this a little more. Basically, the idea of lachak that your hands, especially your dominant one, should be relaxed and supple so that they can produce more power. A stiff hand does not give the same quality of sound as a supple hand does, as you can see. A good way to imagine this is that your fingers should be like whips. Your motion should be supple and whippy.
So this was our last segment in episode 1, the basic strokes. We hope that this video and our whole video series up till now have been helpful for you.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Comments and queries are as always welcomed at